Your Excellency, Professor Jenana Ajiman, Upuku Ajiman, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency Ana Alfonso Diaz Lorenzo, First Lady of the Republic of Angola, Your Excellency Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Chairperson of the Africa Prosperity Network Advisory Council and former Chairperson of the African Union, my dear sister Dr. Monique, former Deputy Chairperson of the African Union, Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, and members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished heads of institutions, captains of industry, development partners, private sector leaders, leaders of small and medium-scale enterprises, women and youth entrepreneurs, our dear friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, a warm good afternoon to you all. Good afternoon. Thank you. It is a profound honor to join you this afternoon at the 4th edition of the Africa Prosperity Dialogue, a platform that has rapidly become one of Africa's most consequential space for shaping our economic future through bold thinking, practical solutions, and collective resolve. I highly commend Mr. Gabi Asare-Otchere-Darko and the whole Africa Prosperity Network team for the visionary leadership in bringing together governments, the private sector, innovators, and development partners around a single purpose: to accelerate Africa's integration and unlock its prosperity. On behalf of the Chairperson of the African Union, I extend sincere appreciation to the government and people of Ghana for hosting the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area, one of our union's flagship institutions. It is indeed fitting that this historic project is anchored in the homeland of Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, whose vision reminds us that Africa's destiny will be shaped not by the borders that divide us, but rather by the unity that binds us. Today, that vision is no longer rhetorical. It is operational, it is institutional, and it is irreversible. This year's theme speaks directly to the African Union's vision of a borderless, opportunity-driven continent. However, free trade in the absence of free movement is an aspiration without substance. Goods cannot move if people cannot move. Opportunity cannot expand if entrepreneurs cannot cross borders. Integration cannot deepen if Africans remain strangers to one another. If we are serious about prosperity, then we must be equally serious about implementing the protocol on the free movement of persons. And I would like to thank Jerry for the call to action. We need all 55 African member states to come on board. As it stands now, only 4 member states have ratified. 32 have signed. And for the protocol to come into force, we need a minimum of 15 member states to ratify. So, let all of us leave this dialogue not merely as participants, but as the ambassadors for free movement. Because when Africans move, Africa moves forward. And without borderless Africa, our development and our prosperity will be stunted. Excellencies and distinguished guests, Africa stands at a defining moment in its economic history. Through the AFCFTA, we have created the largest single market in the world by number of countries, with over 1.4 billion people and a combined GDP exceeding $3 trillion US. But let us remember a simple truth. Markets do not trade, people do. And economies do not grow from policy frameworks alone. They grow from enterprises. If the AFTA engine is the transformation for Africa, then SMEs, women and youth are its power source. Without them, the engine cannot run. Without them, integration cannot deliver prosperity. Across Africa, SMEs represent over 90% of businesses, as we already heard, and more than 80% of employment. Yet, too many remain local by necessity rather than continental by design. You will all agree with me that an integrated market that excludes SMEs is not integration. It is exclusion. We must move African enterprises from survival to scale, from informality to competitiveness, and from domestic reach to continental impact. Africa is the youngest continent on earth, and African women are among the most entrepreneurial globally. This is not merely a demographic reality. It is Africa's greatest economic advantage. Yet, financing gaps persist. Market access remains uneven. Informality continues to suppress growth. Excellencies, empowering women and youth is not a social gesture. It is an economic strategy for our continent. When women thrive, economies expand. When youth innovate, productivity rises. When opportunity is shared, stability follows. And we need that in Africa. Africa, therefore, cannot achieve prosperity while half of its potential is underfinanced and its majority underutilized. The African Union, working with partners such as the African Development Bank, Afrexim Bank, and the Africa Guarantee Fund, is expanding access to finance and strengthening enterprise ecosystems. But finance alone is not enough. Prosperity requires policy coherence. It requires infrastructure. It requires skills. And it requires mobility. And above all, it requires political will. Africa's integration will not be defeated by a lack of ideas. Indeed, we have lots of ideas, but by a lack of courage to implement them. Critical AU instruments, including the Free Movement Protocol, the Single African Air Transport Market, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, and the Protocol on Women and Youth in Trade, must now move decisively from agreement to action. I believe that the era of signing must now give way to the era of delivery. Distinguished guests, Africa's prosperity will not be imported, but built by Africans, built by our entrepreneurs, powered by our own innovation, and sustained through collaboration. History will remember our generation, not for the agreements we signed, but for the opportunities we unlocked for Africa's women, youth, and entrepreneurs. If we get this right, Africa will not merely participate in global trade. Africa will help shape it. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the future of this great continent of ours will not be written solely in presidential palaces or corporate boardrooms. It will be written by the small business with a big idea, the young innovator bold enough to disrupt the status quo, and the woman entrepreneur transforming her community. Let this be the generation that moved Africa from fragmentation to unity, from potential to productivity, and from promise to prosperity. And let history record this final truth. When Africa stood at the crossroads of integration, we did not hesitate. We chose courage, we chose unity, and we chose action. I wish all of us fruitful deliberations and look forward to the commitments that will advance our shared vision of a prosperous, integrated, and unstoppable Africa. May God bless us all, and may He continue to bless our great continent. Thank you. Madam Wasi.